The James Show Podcast.
Welcome to the big show. Plenty to talk about today. You know, we have riots that are expected here in our own backyard over the weekend all across America, but even notably here in North Texas. And then we have the Israel-Iran back and forth here. Iran got a wake-up call last night with the series of strikes. They've already retaliated. Israel's already retaliated back. Now Iran's retaliated a second time. So this is more than a slap fight. You know, I really felt like what happened last April. Do you remember that when we had to break into coverage on a Saturday because Iran had sent 200 projectiles of some sort, some missiles, some drones, some whatever. And we were thinking, is this going to be the big flare-up? No, almost none of them hit their target, and there weren't, but the most minimal of casualties. I'm not even sure, did anyone even die from that? I know there were some injuries, but that seemed to be just a quick tit for tat. Iran was doing some sort of action just to save face, so it didn't look like they were doing nothing after an Israeli strike, and then everything died down. This already seems to be a little bit bigger than that. That doesn't mean this is going to be the start of World War III. That doesn't mean this can't be done in a couple weeks. Netanyahu's already said this is a couple week thing. We're not going to put a time limit on it here, but Israel has struck Iran, and then immediately he explained himself last night.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat.
All right, now say hello to my first guest, Ron Holloway. He's the author of Anti-Fragility. He also has a background in being a special agent. And, you know, I am quite familiar with you because I've heard you on the morning show, and I think you've even been on this show a couple times. But for new people, explain your background and how you're going to have so many answers to this situation.
We'll have answers because that's the crux of the business I do now. But my background is I worked military intelligence. I was a special agent with the U.S. Department of State, so protecting our diplomats abroad. So talk about soft targets, such as our embassies and diplomatic personnel. I have firsthand knowledge of that. And I've been doing this for a while, going on the radio and trying to bring something to the public that's relevant and actionable for them.
Okay, so we had a little bit of an inkling earlier this week, Ron Holloway, when a bunch of embassies were told, hey, you need to clean out of here. So I guess that's a sign we had a heads up on this?
Yeah. Even the President Trump has said that they were aware that it was going to happen. This has likely been something that's been in the works and planning for a long time.
So you think they needed Trump's approval, or they just told him, hey, we're going to do this. You might want to go ahead and get your people out of the way?
I think right now, for things like this, any of our allies, they still look for our approval. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Rubio said that at first that we didn't really have a fingerprint on this. And then President Trump has come out and said strikes were excellent and that they knew ahead of time. And this should bring the Iranians to the negotiation table.
Was this done with American equipment, or was this all Israeli weapons?
I don't have an answer for that. Probably a mix. We do have a strong trade with them, military equipment. The key thing is whether or not U.S. personnel were involved, and also any threats to U.S. military personnel in the region.
Ron Holloway, we have the expectation that this could last up to 2 weeks. Does that mean they have this all planned out, or they're just going to be on alert for the next 2 weeks?
Well, first of all, there's a good saying, man plans and God laughs. So their intentions may be a couple of weeks, but let's not forget they're still engaged in Gaza. So timelines are fluid and could be 2 weeks. We'll see what the Iranian response is, how much this ramps up. And all I can say to the public is stay balanced, stay sane, and keep moving forward.
So, Ron Holloway, all of us have heard for decades now that Iran is just days or weeks away or months away maybe from getting a nuclear bomb. Do you think that's really the predicate for this, or is that just an excuse to slap down the guy who's been funding all the terrorism, whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and all the other bad actors in the region?
I think it's a combination of those things.
Yeah, well, how have they been so wrong on Iran getting the nuke? Because we've been told, I've got audio clips going back to, like, what's the oldest one, like 2012, 2009, with people concerned about Iran getting the nuke, but they never did.
Yeah, they still haven't. But remember, Israel hit them before with the Stuxnet attack, the cyber attack that affected their facilities. So they've had some resistance to developing it in the past, not to this scale, obviously. And we still have to wonder just how much their capabilities are degraded, as a lot of their nuclear research and production facilities are deep underground.
All right. Well, keep an eye on it. We'll have to have you back on. Thank you very much. This is Ron Holloway, defense expert. I appreciate your time. How can they find your work online, Ron?
Well, they can find me at HollowayResilienceSolutions.com, where I help people perceive what's going on, prepare for it, prevail in the moment, and prosper by taking advantage of opportunities. This is
the latest in an exchange of strikes that we had. The big one coming yesterday, Israel striking Iran, taking out purportedly their nuclear capabilities, and some important leaders, maybe some important scientists were thrown in that list of bodies that they're starting to pile up. The latest info that we've had since the James show started is that at least in this next wave of missiles, this last wave that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's been reported that the United States is actually helping Israel shoot them down. Now, this is an important development because this isn't now us watching two independent third parties have a very deadly slap fight. This is us participating in a hot war. This is us participating in another war zone. So, as it stands now, we're already in a hot war with Russia. We just haven't admitted it yet. We just haven't put boots on the ground. But American weapons are being used, not just against Russians, but against Russians in Russian territory. And then here we have the United States assisting in this front as well. And I'm hoping, this is the optimistic James that you're talking to here. I'm hoping this is going to shake out just like it did last April when Israel made a strike on Iran. So Iran had to do the little hissy fit retaliation back. They got to brag that they launched 200 missiles at Israel and it did all kinds of good damage and stuff. But you and I know that most of those were shot down. Most of those drones and missiles didn't even make it to their target. The handful that did, some of them fell harmlessly. The actual casualties, whether it's injuries or death, was absolutely minimal last April. But here we are 14 months later. And this looks like what seems to be maybe a little bit bigger version of what we saw then. So the optimistic view here is Israel has some strategic interest. Oh, man, these videos are so cool when they're shooting missiles out of the sky. This looks like Missile Command if you had an Atari back in the day. Ooh, that one made it. But the lesson we learned from last year's attack is there's very little Iran can do. So I am under the hope that Israel has some targets it wants to take out. It's probably taken them out or maybe has a few cleanup strikes to go. They have put a timetable on it of this is going to last at least 2 weeks. I don't even think it'll take that long. And I'm really hoping that we can just dust our hands with this, come to some new agreement within a week or two, and then move on. There seems to be a strong contingent of people who thinks this is going to be the next ongoing conflict. This is going to be the next Ukraine. This is going to be the next Israel-Gaza conflict. You know, the Israel-Gaza conflict, while we say it's been going on for thousands of years, the current iteration of the bombing of Gaza and the military action and the blockade stems from the October 7th attack that happened in 2023. Do I have that right? Yeah, I'm saying that right. So it's been, a year and a half, almost closer to 2 years in this latest flare-up between Israel and the Palestinians, this time in Gaza. So no one knows for sure what it was going to be. There were people in the April attacks from last year who was saying this is just going to open up World War III. This is going to be another war. It's not going to stop. And it died down almost immediately. Now, I'm not being Pollyannish. I'm not ignoring the threat of Iran having a nuclear weapon. But I am going to share with you some suspicions coming up next. I have the Audiotron 3000. I have the time machine. We're going to go back into threats of Iran past in the next segment. And you're going to hear from both sides of the aisle. Some of these will be from like Megyn Kelly on Fox News. Some of these will be from Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes. Some of it might be Leon Panetta. Some of it might be Antony Blinken. But throughout the last couple of decades, this has been a repeatedly wrong prediction that just keeps persisting. Iran is days away. Iran's weeks away. Iran's months away from having a nuclear weapon. So what's different about this time? Let me give you the case for optimism here. The case for optimism, as explained in my brain, comes from the fact that I've been doing talk radio for almost 23 years. But it's a pattern you probably noticed too. You've been warned that Iran is just months away, weeks away, days away from getting the nuclear weapon. But you've been hearing that for years and years, and it never comes true. So I am skeptical of that claim. Any claim that's made just over and over and over and over that continues to be wrong, anyone's naturally skeptical. The boy cried wolf. Now, there's also the problem with that is Iran probably would like to have a nuclear weapon. And on a long enough time scale, that prediction is going to be correct. But you can also just predict every day that it's going to rain tomorrow. It's going to rain tomorrow. It's going to rain tomorrow. And even if you're in the Sahara Desert, eventually you're going to be correct. So let's go through the ghosts of Iran past in the media and just review some of these predictions and see what they sound like compared to the news that's happening today. And if we see any more missiles falling on either Iran or Israel, we'll break back into Fox News coverage. But we're going to back up not too far here. We'll just go in reverse order. This is a little over a year ago, April 24th, 2024. This was the predicate for the last Iran-Israel flare-up. Was that Iran, this is Fox News, was just weeks away.
We also learned that Iran is apparently, quote, weeks away from the capacity to develop a nuclear bomb. That statement made Tuesday by the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
See, so that's not the Democrats or Republicans saying it. The International Atomic Energy Agency was saying that. They're just weeks away. Well, sir, they said that like 65 weeks ago. How many weeks are you talking about? Let's go a little further back in history. This is going to be March 1st, 2023. On a station WION, Iran's 12 days away.
A top U.S. official has claimed that Iran has enough fissile material to build a nuclear weapon in about 12 days. Iran, however, has denied the report's findings, calling it...
Yeah. That kind of, you already get the point. The next one, Antony Blinken, the guy who's Secretary of State under the previous president, under Biden. Iran is weeks away. Guess when he said this? We're going to go back in time just 2 more years. This is going to be from February 3rd, 2021.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken claims that Iran is only weeks away from a nuke.
Weeks away. So that was over 4 years ago. That's like 4.5 years ago. Let's go back in time again. Here's Fox News. We go back to 2015 for this one, 10 years ago. What were they saying?
For example, they say Iran's breakout time for developing a nuclear weapon will go from 2 to 3 months to at least 1 year.
First of all, the question that raises to me is, how did we get to the point where Iran is 2 months away from a nuclear weapon?
Well, it's easy to say 10 years later that we weren't in a place where Iran was just 2 weeks away or 2 months away or 2 days away from a nuclear weapon. Let's go even further back in time. 2013. Someone else was in power back then. What were they saying about Iran? How they were about to get a nuke? Let me guess.
Tension is growing as we get new reports emerge on Iran's nuclear program. Now Israel is threatening to act after reports say Iran could be less than a month away from building a nuclear weapon.
See, so it doesn't matter if Trump's in power, if Biden's in power, if Trump's in power the first time, if Obama's in power. It's the same story. I'm supposed to be scared that Iran is weeks away, months away maybe, from a nuclear weapon. Let's go back even further. And on both sides of the aisle. You heard a couple from Fox News there. Here's one from CBS News. This was on 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley talking to, I think this is Leon Panetta, the Secretary of State under Obama. Again, same story. No matter what year it is, No matter what time it is, no matter what the situation is, you're supposed to believe that Iran's always been just weeks away.
In an interview with CBS News, Leon Panetta says that despite efforts to disrupt their nuclear program, the Iranians have reached a point where they can assemble a bomb in a year or potentially less.
Now, this is what scares me. When the establishments of both parties are saying the same thing that continue to be false, that makes me think, well, what's going on here? Like, it's very suspicious that in a bipartisan fashion, they could be this wrong for this long of a time. I'm going to go back even further now. We're going to go back to 2007. This is September of 2007. This is 18 years ago. John McCain did a nice little rendition of, rest in peace, Brian Wilson, of the Beach Boys song Bob Iran with Bomb Iran. They were concerned that they could get it any second now.
Beach Boys song Bomb Iran. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Anyway.
Yeah, let's just start World War III. Look, I don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. It's not my preference. But also, I'm not buying the idea from the people that have been wrong for 18 years are all of a sudden this week right. And if you have a better reason to bomb Iran, just tell us. You're like, hey, we're sick of them funding Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels and ISIS in Syria and the Arab Spring in Libya and Egypt. And they're just general pain in the butt. Okay, you don't have to lie to me, though. To the phones we go. This is Brent in Lake Weatherford. Your thoughts on the Israel-Iran strikes on WBAP?
I tell you what, World War I, they assassinated Ferdinand. I think he was the prime minister in Austria. And if you really read up on all that stuff, it just kind of mushroomed. I know it's a whole different situation now, but you look what happened then, and you'd be better to look at it instead of me. I just remember that from I'm 73, when I was a little kid. But you never know what these guys are going to do. To me, the most dangerous guy on the planet is still Putin. And I hope to hell he never gets cancer, because I just don't trust that guy. I think he would just soon go out and light up the whole earth. So
yeah, and he actually has the technology. If he has the desire to hit us with a nuclear missile, he probably could.
Well, I don't know about the supersonic stuff.
Well, how about this? More so than Iran.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
agreed.
That's like you having a hand grenade and they got firecrackers. I mean, Iran, they can't do anything but talk about it.
Yeah, and they can fund terrorists and they can annoy us with the Houthi rebels and Hamas and Hezbollah and ISIS and whatnot. They're not a direct threat to us, but they sure are a pain in the butt. Ari in Dallas says he is from Israel, and I haven't talked to anybody from Israel. I'd like to talk to someone from Iran, too, if you want to call in, 800-288-9227. But as someone from Israel, Ari, welcome to the James Show. What's your thoughts on what's going on in foreign policy today?
I think everything is happening. The main reason it's happening is because you see the Hamas with Chet in Hebrew, they winning all the times because we are fighting them with tweezers. We're always fighting them with tweezers. The reason is they're using the international law. They're using the international rules. They're saying, oh, you can't really hurt any, people like innocent people. They're claiming anyone that participates there is innocent. And because of it, that's why this fight is prolonging for so long. That's why we never got the hostages out. Is because we're fighting them with tweezers. We literally fighting them with our hands tied. And that's the reason we never win. And that's what's also happening in Iran. We are bombing only places where the military is there. I mean, I'm against, God forbid, killing anyone innocent. But they taking it to the far extreme and using it against us. And that's why we're always losing. And that's why this thing is lasting from October 7, 2023 until now, and it doesn't stop. We need to have a leader that fights properly, not with tweezers. That's what's really concerning me as Israeli.
So do you think today counts as playing with tweezers?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I appreciate what Netanyahu is doing, but I think we need a far more right extremist, maybe like Moshe Feiglin, someone like that would take the country.
Well, hang on. What are you looking for? Are you looking for like a Yom Kippur war or a 6 days war?
I'm looking basically after what happened in October 7. we should have bombed the place completely, the entire place of Gaza. I mean, to show no mercy. When you show no mercy, then you actually show mercy towards your people. But when you show mercy towards your enemy, you actually show the opposite towards your people. That's actually something that white sages also say. You have to show a really strong hand against your enemy. That's what we are not doing. And because we're not doing it, that's why we're losing the war. And that's why we have so many hostages. And they can do it again. They're happy about what they're doing because they know they can kidnap people. And then they say, oh, you can't hurt me because there's international rules. They will go to the International Court in Hague or use the UK, France, whatever, bribe them with Qatar. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to win. But if we're going to show that we are strong and we are not, we're going to fight the way we should fight, then we're going to win the war. But we're not doing it. And unfortunately, our Prime Minister is not doing it either.
Okay. Well, it was great to hear your side of this. This is Ari in Dallas via Israel. Thank you very much for calling in the James Show.
Thanks.
I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.